Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for coming back. I know it's been a hot minute with me being in school, but we're here with our next episode, and I'm super excited. I get to introduce Lary Petersen, who is a Linux systems engineer in the defense industry. And Larry, I'm going to pass it to you to kind of say a quick hello and introduce yourself.
Cool, thanks. Hi, I'm Larry. I've been doing cyber for about 4 years-ish now, kind of in and out of the defense industry for a little over a decade, I guess, at this point. And I'm super excited to be here, man. It's kind of awesome.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming here. And as always, to my subscribers, if you're here, hit that like, smash that subscribe, and let's go into the 5 questions we ask all of my guests. And first one I'm going to ask you, Larry, is could you share your journey in cybersecurity and what initially sparked your interest to get into the career?
So, I mean, I was just kind of like a kid with a computer, and I think like pretty much every kid at that point is like interested in that sort of thing. You know, you watch like movies like Hackers, which was, big when I was a kid, and I loved that movie. And like it just kind of sparks, some interest. Like sure, it's all kind of made for Hollywood and stuff like that, but it's cool stuff. So I think I kind of took that like as a kid and sort of ran with it, and I'd always been interested in it. Um, my journey to get here though was a little weird. When I was about 17, there was this opportunity for high school kids to intern. This is about 2001. Like, yeah, I'm dating myself here. Um,
Yeah, back in the
but there was
day.
this, yeah, back in the day, Jesus. And so there was this opportunity, and they did this like group interview. Um, and we afterwards, everybody did their interview, and they kind of took you aside for like this like one-on-one. And there was a couple of guys in there, and they must have been in there mid to late 30s. They looked like they'd been kind of doing this for a while. I'm like, all right, well, what do you want to do? And I told them I want to get into security. And I actually got laughed right out of the interview.
Oh, man.
They literally just kind of started laughing. I mean, it was 2001, and there's this like asshole kid, I guess. So I kind of took a big that really kind of stopped me from pursuing this for a long, long time. And then I did, IT stuff like that. I've always been interested in computers, like I said. So that was kind of a natural progression for me. And I did that for a long time until I ended up doing some systems engineering out in Connecticut. And that integrated a lot of like cybersecurity stuff, scanning and doing the sort of things you do in building like government systems. There are, security guidelines that you have to follow,
Yep.
and somebody's got to kind of keep on top of that and sort that sort of thing. So that's what I did. I did that for a couple of years and kind of wanted to get more into cybersecurity. And I got a phone call, one day. Just a guy was talking about like you've got Linux experience, you've got a lot of experience here. You ever thought about doing cyber? And like, yeah, I have.
Let me tell you a story
And
in
so
2001.
right, right, and I'm like, yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, I would love to do it. And so that's kind of what brought me here. And I spent the last couple of years just sort of working on skills and certs and all that sort of stuff, kind of like you got to do. And that's really the hardest part. Once you're in, is kind of maintaining and getting that knowledge.
Yep. 100%. No, that's awesome. It actually kind of leads into our next question, which is perfect. So, what does a typical day look like in your role? And what are some of the most challenging aspects of your job that you're seeing today?
So, a typical day. So, what I do right now is I develop mitigation scripts, basically in Python. I take input from a couple of different sources, and me and my team build these um, scripts that kind of go out and fix a bunch of stuff in these like basically production systems. Um, and the Python for me was probably the biggest challenge because I'm not a coder. I was never really a good coder, but I've picked up a lot of it now, and I feel much more comfortable with it at this point than I did. But I basically started from scratch.
Oh, man.
Um, A typical day is usually, we do a lot of development testing, a lot of procedures, a lot of like the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And then, you get to do maybe 35% of that like good solid engineering work where you're trying to figure stuff out and like actually get into the tech. And that's probably the best part.
Now, when it comes to like when you guys are doing your development and stuff, I know with some organizations like they'll have like before you actually touch the network, you have to like make a request. Like some use Jira or maybe like ServiceNow. Like say, hey, uh, like do you guys have to do kind of like that kind of like noting or annotation before you go in and like actually run a script, or do you guys like run it through a dev environment first? Obviously, kind of make sure everything pans
So
out.
yeah, a lot of the stuff that we do, we're doing in a lab. So, I've
Okay.
got to I have to get basically like schedule time in a lab for myself and like my team. But that's for us, it's kind of almost as simple as like scheduling a meeting in a conference room. So it's
Okay.
a couple of emails and just sort of filling out a form or so, and we've got it.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and so like we've got that lab for weeks or however long we really need it. We've kind of got a good run of the place, which is great and really helps out. But we have, a very similar environment to what we're, actually doing this development for.
Very cool. Well, that actually pings into our third question that's actually great to kind of bleed into this is for someone looking into starting a career in cybersecurity in 2024, what skills and qualifications would you recommend they kind of focus on acquiring?
So I would have to kind of start with um, Linux first off. Is that, a lot of that stuff is going to revolve Linux, especially like Red Hat. Especially the defense industry it uses a lot of Linux. Um, And the other one I would kind of suggest is some sort of like programming language. Python is great, but people who can do stuff in C, or getting into some of the lighter scripting languages like PowerShell. I mean, all of that stuff is very handy to have.
Okay. I guess a follow up too is when it comes to like some schooling and stuff, would you recommend, or I mean, do you have like an opinion, I guess, when it comes to like folks like, oh, I have to have a 4 year degree or I mean, like I have a 50-50
So
process on it, right? It's like education's great. I think it's great for the HR algorithm I have a cybersecurity degree, but I also will push like, hey, there's so much you can do on YouTube and all these other training sites to build fundamentals and foundations. I mean, can I ask maybe what your thoughts on for
yeah,
the
I
educational
don't
path?
have I don't have a degree. Um, college isn't for everybody,
Agreed.
and it certainly wasn't for me. I've since gone back well into my adult life, but getting an education was kind of the last thing I was interested in college, so that didn't really benefit me at all. But I was lucky enough to get some internships and help from friends and stuff like that. So the networking part was really much more important in my
Definitely.
like particular journey. Um, Certs is something that I have completely had to change my opinion on. Whereas I think doing I just ran regular IT, um, I never really found any use for them. And the people that I'd worked with who had prided themselves on like I got my A plus or anything like that, I didn't really see them as being any more technologically like fluent than anybody else who just kind of like yeah, I mean I like computers when I was a kid, or I got into them in high school or whatever. I never really saw that sort of like divide, but now especially like for cybersecurity, um, the one that I started with was the certified in cybersecurity. It's the ISC squared one,
Okay.
and at the time they were doing. I think this is still the case, but I'm not sure. I'd have to Google it. They were doing like this 1 million strong program to give 1 million out for free, and it was basically the same study materials as you're going to use for your CISSP. And I found that a great way to kind of like break in. And when I started this, had the ability to kind of say like, yeah, I got my most basic certification, and now I'm working on a couple more. CISSP is kind of the next one on my list.
That's a good
And
start.
then
I call that the manager shirt when you start to want to drink the Kool-Aid. So
yeah, and it's very popular in defense too. It kind of it hits a lot of requirements that like the DoD has for that sort of thing. And then after that, I'm looking at like Pen Test Plus or Linux Plus or some sort of like the Red Hat Certified Administrator, I think RHCSA, something like that. Um, Things like that, and that's kind of where I think I'm going to go next after this.
Okay. Well, it kind of bleeds into my. I guess I should have pushed this into my fourth question too, because it's going to be talking about kind of learning and development. But how do you keep up with rapidly evolving landscapes of cybersecurity and threats, and/or technologies within your field? And are there any specific resources or practices that you find invaluable that you would recommend out to folks kind of breaking into cyber? I always call it IT on a budget. Obviously, people look at SANS as like the golden standard, and I'm like, that's a golden standard, but I don't have 10 grand for SANS classes.
Right. So. I can't do SANS classes. I'm stuck with like YouTube, and that's fine. So yeah, actually I think my biggest recommendation here would be a home lab. Yes. And you can do one super simple. VMware Workstation is now free for personal use. That's the one I've been using. And I kind of recommend that to everybody. Just stand something up, screw around with it, break it, take snapshots, go back, do whatever you want.
So you saw that VMware Pro now is available, right? They just released the Pro. Okay, yeah. I saw that. I saw that today. I'm like, this was released back in May. I'm like, what? I'm like,
yeah,
I'm behind the times.
A month or so ago, and now that's what my home lab runs on now.
Nice.
And I've got a couple of things up that I can kind of screw around with. I also do a lot of the hack the box stuff or try hack me.
Mm-hmm.
There's over the wire, under the wire and under the wire. I think are also excellent resources. And honestly, just kind of the big secret is screw around with it. Don't be afraid to break stuff. Just kind of experiment. If you don't have, you're having questions, you're having problems. Ask somebody. ChatGPT is a great resource for that now. YouTube is a fantastic resource.
Is key.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm a strong believer in AI, and there's good and bad with it. And I think there's 100% things when it comes to AI where it's like, yeah, can AI do all the jobs? No. But with good prompting, can it get you 70% of the way there? And with maybe some plus or minus 5, absolutely. So
you've seen it if you've tried to use ChatGPT for coding or something, it kind of works. But ChatGPT just made a whole bunch of crap up, and none of that. You're gonna need to go through that yourself and really iron out the bugs. But in doing that, you're learning a ton.
Yes.
So it's a great resource if you know how to use it properly.
No. And then with my last one, for our final question. So who are your role models in cybersecurity industry or any related field? And how have they influenced your approach to your career?
I don't know if I have any particular role models. I'm pretty lucky to work with some people who are gifted, is the best word I can use for them with this sort of thing. And there's a couple of them who have just it is amazing the things you don't know. And they have been great at kind of helping me out and teaching me all of these very detailed intricacies of operating systems and stuff like that. So I would have to say them, and they've been phenomenal to me. They've been a great resource to me in my career so far.
Yeah, I think coworkers can kind of bring out the best in us, because sometimes you get to learn all at the same time, but then two, just like you said, there's some that you'll talk to lead seniors, or just some people, just one person can't know everything. So you have to kind of ask those kind of questions. And it's great when you can find folks that are willing to kind of take that time and explain stuff or kind of go over things. And that's awesome. One of mine is the father of all gingers, John Hammond. I give him a shout out every time because
I actually just started watching him. I think he's very good too.
He is solid. I think Network Chuck. I watched him a little bit slowly coming up into IT, my world of IT. Professor Messer, I did him for my.
I haven't heard of that one.
Professor Messer is great it's a great resource for Security Plus and some other. I think he does Network Plus, A Plus.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Does a bunch of good YouTube videos for just free YouTube prep. Dion Learning off Udemy. I've used him plenty of times for.
Okay.
I was setting up for my cast, but I actually took the Pen Test Plus beta this July. They had that beta going on for CompTIA, and I took that. So we'll find out in November how I did. But Dion Learning.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
fingers crossed. I feel pretty confident on it, but we'll see. But yeah, Dion Learning
yeah.
also does some great courses on Udemy. Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, Over the Wire, Under the Wire. Code Academy, I think, is another one.
Code Academy was pretty good. I looked at that a little bit, but actually, honestly, a lot of the Python that I've had very good luck using ChatGPT and then trying to fix what ChatGPT screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of probably taught me the most of coding. Like that's been the most appealing method to learn for me.
What was what languages do you know for coding languages?
PowerShell and I did a lot of PowerShell. I am unfortunately old, so I did a lot of batch files.
Okay.
That was I've really only worked IT, so that was scripting was kind of the thing. And now Python is kind of like the actual only coding language. I've screwed around with others, in school over the years, Java or again Fortran, again dating myself, and I hated all of it.
Did you find one was harder or easier than the others to learn?
Python has been very simple, and I have loved kind of its very direct approach to stuff. I found it great. Now I use it for some of my own projects and stuff like that, and I loved it. I think it's great.
Automate. It's like, yes.
Yeah.
What can this help me do less of?
Exactly. Yeah. And I've used it for stuff all the time, and I love it now.
Well, great, Larry. Well, with that's my 5 questions, and I threw in a few extra little on top because I was kind of curious on some things. But my final golden question I kind of ask all my folks that jump on is, I don't know if you're a video gamer or not, or kind of have a fun hobby you do on the side, but is there anything that's been kind of burning the midnight oil, or kind of spending some of your extra man hours in that is not IT related?
I've been doing a lot of Diablo lately. The new season just dropped, so that has been kind of like my thing for the last couple of days.
Awesome. What's your playthrough? Who do you play as? Like what?
Right now I'm doing a Barrage Rogue this season. It's been pretty fun.
Okay. I'm on season of Discovery. That is my burning hours right now. Yeah.
Nice. I keep getting these ads for World of Warcraft and stuff, and I keep getting very tempted to go back. But I don't know.
It's pretty solid. I got all my buddies back on it for at least a month. We'll do it for a month sub, awesome. And we'll get there. I'm like, yeah. I'm like peer pressure. So it's like,
how are you gonna do it?
Yeah, but I play a hunter, so it's been a fun time. But yeah, definitely the grind. Awesome. The grind to 60 is there, even with the buffs they do for it. But no, man, I really appreciate it. This has been a blast.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. Is awesome. I had a lot of fun with this.
It's so fun to have. And for everyone still watching, if you made it through this, I appreciate it. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. I really appreciate these Breaking into Cyber episodes. And Larry, is a huge thank you. You'll be getting a fun piece of swag from the Ginger Hacker Swag Shop. So I'll be reaching out to you after this. But any final words or anything, or words of encouragement for those kind of looking to kind of break into IT and cyber, and what to kind of keep going for?
Yeah, you know what? Just screw around with it. Don't be afraid to break stuff. That's kind of how you get good at it. And just if you see something that looks interesting, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube. There's plenty of resources. Just don't get scared away.
Awesome. Well, hey, everyone. Thank you for staying tuned and checking out Breaking into Cyber, and I will see you on the next episode. Have a good one.